Hello and welcome all to the third episode of the second season of the Transcend Bus Show, a Transcend Initiative by our staff advisor Dr. Anil R. Surve, and I am your host Sai Prasad Sawan. From starting out as a software developer intern to working with renowned tech companies like ThoughtWorks and Swiggy as SDE 3, he has built a strong foundation in scalable software systems and modern product engineering. Alongside his professional journey, he has also been exploring the entrepreneurial space through his own proof of concept and innovative ideas, showcasing his passion for building impactful solutions beyond the corporate world. In this episode, we'll explore the journey from WCE to the tech industry, the experiences, the lessons that shaped his career, his entrepreneurial material and mindset, and the whys and whats of engineering in today's rapidly evolving world. We'll also dive into his perspective of innovation, growth, and what students can do to prepare themselves for this technologically advanced world. Please join me and welcome Mr. Mahadev Vyavahare. So, very warm greeting from WCE MLSC. We are very pleased to have you here. So, would you like to say something to us at the starting of the podcast?
Yeah, and equally I'm grateful to be here. Thank you so much for calling me for podcast as well as for the other innovation challenge as a judge. It's been 10 years since I'm back to the college and all the memories are jumping up again. I'm very happy to be here. Let's have a conversation. Thank you so much for calling.
Okay, so should we start with the questions already?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So, sir is an alumni of WCA, as we all know. He's back here after 10 years. So, I'd like to ask you, even before the college started, how did you end up in this CS field? Like, how was your experience before the college?
Yeah. So I think likewise, most of the folks may not, back in time 2016 when I got passed out, I think after 10th, likewise most of the students don't know what to do. And based on my relatives' advice, one of my cousin brother, he suggested that you should just jump into the computer science diploma. And I'm thankfully landed into Government Polytechnic Solapur, GPS we call it. I think in Walchand also a lot of students are coming here from GPS. So I landed into computer science there after 10th, and that was the first time I actually, you might not believe, first time I saw the computer, I actually touched a mouse the first time. I didn't know how to use that cursor, how to use the keyboard. I was like, if I want to type my name, Mahadev, M-A-H-A-D-E-V, it would take at least a minute for me to find individual key and then just press it up, right? So that was the first exercise I actually did on computer, open the notepad, type my own name. Just first time feeling. It was great feeling. I was very excited, equally nervous also. What am I here? I came from like a farmer's family, had no exposure to either of this. But I was happy to see that new change for me being a teenager after 10th, right? So, and over the time, I think while doing a lot of exercises, what would be the first exercise, right? What they'll ask you to type maybe a letter to your family. And that will take like a 30 minutes exercise. You have to type that entirely like in a notepad. And then that was my first, I think, practical exercise in computer science diploma in a second year or first year if I'm not wrong, right? And that's how it started. And before coming to computer, I didn't know what am I signing up to. And with the God grace, I'm at a good place right now. But journey was equally great, super joyful. I started with that, eventually learned programming. I did a first program, if I'm not wrong, A plus B is equal to C, something like that, right? So you do a simple calculator. That's how it started. Did diploma. After diploma, I think in diploma also, then I realized that to get a good job, right? I think everyone's ambition. The only thing I was targeting in a final year was to get good mark and get into a good college. And somehow I got to know about Walchand College of Engineering. From one of other, I think, colleague in a college, I think classmate, he was senior to me. He suggested that I think few colleges you should target is go for either COEP or Walchand. And unfortunately, I couldn't go to COEP for obvious reasons and landed into Walchand. But I was equally happy, landed here and altogether new experience here. So yeah, that's how I landed in Walchand, to be very precise.
Of course, as you said that you got the information from your relatives that all about this. As for like 10 years from that point, now there are a lot of resources for students to choose from. There's a lot of guidance. So how would you say how would you explain the difference between how it was 10 years ago and how it is now?
Yeah, I think it's a fundamentally difference is like 10 years since I got out of college, which means it's 16 years since then, right? So I landed in computer science in a 2010 to be very precise, right? Now in a 16 years, a lot of things have changed, right? Back then you didn't had much information available, so most of the decisions were luck driven. Most of the decisions were a lot less data heavy. However, in a today's world, if you speak, most of the decision you want to make based out of data. For example, while choosing computer science as a career, what people are looking, they are looking at statistics, they are looking up probability of let's say me getting job in a computer science versus someone getting job in electrical engineer. So it's all based on data, right? So and world will change also, like people were lot a less data intensive decisions versus a data base intensive decisions, right? So your decision making process has become refined and more accurate. You are not like a shooting in a dark. You are actually taking a decision based on a data, and that's equally important, and it's like a evolvement, I would say, and that's a never ending process. Eventually likewise in a today's world, you might have taken decision based out of inputs coming from your maybe close relatives, your mentors. However, you have taken internet as a data source, did your own research, merits, maybe a placement statistics of this college, and then you have taken the decision, right? So that's fundamentally changed, I think, what I'm seeing right now. But that's normal, and that's same across the world, regardless of domain, whether you are choosing to get into college versus you are choosing to pick up any business idea versus you are choosing to maybe travel abroad. Whatever decision you are taking, you are more relying on a data than emotions, right? So that's what the today's world, and I believe students are already doing that, and they are on a right path.
So it's basically less randomized.
Yeah,
It's not luck based as
absolutely.
it was before. Okay.
Yeah.
So moving on to the next question, was there any particular project or competition or let's say experience that you had during your colleges that led you to choose the software developer engineer as your career?
Yeah, so I think at least when you come from a diploma background, you are very unlikely to change the mainstream. So because when I landed in diploma, I was in computer science, and I kind of made up my mind that I need to continue in the same field because I found it pretty interesting. Did project in final year, and to be very precise, if I tell you the more of project, right, my staff member suggested that you should try it on, make a project to create optimized timetable for college. Like you need to reorganize your lectures, you need to take into account your staff members availability, the subjects you want to cover, how much allocation for individual subject weightage you have to do, and give that weightage, and basis on that get the decision and build that project sort of things. And I kind of loved the way computer works. It was like a curiosity comes into your mind, right, how things are working, and then I could make sense out of things a lot. Like I could visualize that, hey, when I'm using a calculator, it is doing like 1 plus 1 2. However, I am able to build that program in my own computer, which means this is the start of the something, and I definitely will able to build a lot more complex application in this using the same system under the hood. So I think it's just that interest and curiosity sustained over the time in 3 years. So I was already in a computer science, so it didn't make sense for me. I didn't like to even change the field, so I continued in computer science and landed here into a computer science again, which was, I think that's how the journey evolved without any change. Yeah.
So we also know that you are the WCE alumni. Of course,
Yeah.
you've mentioned multiple times. So how would you describe your time here at WCE? What was your experience like?
Yeah, I would. I think thanks for asking that. And if I need to describe myself, where am I? Wherever I am going, wherever I'll go tomorrow, the amount of contribution WCE has in my life, not just in a career. Who am I as a person? The values I bring to the table, values I bring to my family. They largely being contributed from Walchin, 3 years of my span in a college, right? That has added a lot of value. In fact, when you actually get into a college, you don't really understand. You are like maybe a very fresh person, ready to learn anything, adopt anything, and Walchand has shaped up my career, not just as a career, it has shaped up my person side of the things as well. Lot of values being taught, because what I see in Walchand right now, I think you might I think also see the difference is you get to interact a lot. You get to do a lot more than what it is being done in a just a regular curriculum activities, right? So when I landed here, the first thing I understood here, there are a lot of clubs doing different activities all together. Everyone is trying to do a lot of different things. Like for example, art circle people are like in their own different zone. There is a, I think, retro club who was doing personality development, road track club doing a personality development. Then there was a Walchen Linux users group. They are like completely focused on Linux, open source, right, fast world and all of this. So everyone was behind something purpose, right, and their curiosity, interest. There was also a club, I remember, I think competitive exam preparation or UPSC aspirant group, right? So everyone was trying to understand their own curiosity, interest, and was coming together and interacting and sharing the ideas and understanding from each other. And that is something was crazy for me. Like in fact, I came from a college where that was not something very normal. And here I came and I'm not just studying, but I'm doing a lot more than that. In fact, 60-70% of my time I was spending outside of my curriculum activity, and only when exam comes to the table, like maybe a week or 2 weeks ahead, I'll start preparation of academics, submissions, and all of this, try to cover up. Otherwise, I was just developing myself, right? And that is something I feel you may not see a short-term value out of that, but rather what I see is a long-term value in that, the way you being yourself and understand your interest, curiosity. You make a lot of network, and out of all of this, in a 3 years of duration, whatever I see myself here and you are seeing here in the last couple of days, that's a function of my time in Walchen,
Yeah.
I'd say.
So basically, a fresher comes with an open canvas, and then you have to paint whatever your personality onto it.
Exactly.
But then during all these times during the college, there are definitely some particular experiences you remember.
Yeah.
Are there any particular that you remember as of now?
Yeah. I think you rightly mentioned that people are coming with the open canvas, right? And this is a canvas, and a very differential factor I'll tell about my experience in Walchen. I'm not sure, you might have altogether different experience, but you are with the plain canvas, and no one is there to actually own the drawing on that canvas. No staff is responsible here to draw your canvas. Your entire accountability is given to a student himself. Freedom to draw your own drawings, right? That's entirely very important. No staff member is saying that you should do X and you should do Y only, right? You have open canvas to draw your own drawings and make yourself a better person than yesterday, whatever is that, right? However, if you specifically ask about incidents, and there are a lot more, but I'll tell you, there was opportunity. I remember we had economics class, and I always take interest in economics, right? And teaching was my another out of interest. And all of a sudden, our economics teacher says that you need to explain economics to your own colleagues in a classroom, and everybody has to select one of the topic, go into a classroom and make them explain in a best possible manner. And I took fundamentals of economics as a first lecture in between the economics subject, and lot of and I loved the experience teaching and all of this. The opportunity it has given, I don't think so in other college somewhere people would ask you and teach the same subject. Even a same staff member is asking you to teach the same subject who is supposed to teach, right? Yeah. That's a super open-minded environment, and I taught the subject for an hour in classroom. My English was completely broken. I tried to patch it up with Marathi language, then English together, and make sure that people here, students who are my friends, right, they are understanding. And I got a feedback that one of my friends, Sandeep, said that, yeah, I understood economics way better in easier world than I could have understood otherwise, or what however I have understood it. That was a good feedback, and that's that actually tell me that if you try something else, you might figure out like completely altogether different domain, right? And that was the day I decided that I need to speak more, regardless of topic, whichever I pick up, but speak more, try to articulate that better and explain that. I started teaching then onwards, like maybe in a third year, then fourth year, I was doing completely the same thing. So this is one of the incident I would say, but there are a lot more we could cover maybe later on.
Yeah, of course. So engineering is not only about studying, but it is also discovering more aspects that you can come up. So
Yeah.
as you said, teaching was your forte at that time.
Yeah.
So and many of the time, clubs and committees give you the chance to explore these fortes.
Yes.
Fortes. So
Yeah.
what were your clubs and committees at the time at Walchand?
Yeah, back then. So I joined as a second year, direct second year guy after diploma, right? And I landed up in a WLUG, Walchand Linux Users Group, and I'm very thankful as of now also to the club, given opportunity, one of seniors, Kailas and all of those folks, I would like to mention them as well. They gave me opportunity. Eventually I started doing club services back then in a second year itself, like pick up any topic, just maybe you run a shell commands and all of this. Back then those were also pretty new to everyone, right? So starting teaching that. So I associated myself with the Walchand Linux Users Group till my final year. Eventually in a third year I became a president of Walchand Linux Users Group. But that shaped up my world. We took a workshop of metamorphosis. I'm not sure if that's still running. Most likely
it's
it
still
is,
running,
right? So every semester we could conduct an event. We will teach them a very basic, like how to install a Linux. How do you shift from like proprietary software tools to open source software tool?
Yes.
And we were very passionate about open source tools, like how come people are making tools available in a free of cost on a GitHub. We learned Git, we taught all the participant GitHub back then. So that was a great opportunity given by club. Eventually became president, tried to do lot more activities. We took also Android workshop. We used to teach them Android using Java, build applications, voice based applications, so on and so forth, right? Whatever possibly we could make in a 2 days, and we used to charge I think 200 or 300 bucks to individual participant. So that club also I think immensely contributed, but I wouldn't say that any specific club will contribute, right? Every club has their own angle, but eventually they'll make you a better person. I would suggest they'll develop some specific skills, like for example I got interested into open source and all of this because of Walchand Linux Users Group. However, the other clubs will maybe teach you that specific angle. However, it's a unaccounted result of every club is you become a better person and improved version of yourself. That's very important aspect regardless of club. So what I would suggest, maybe if fellow students who are listening to this podcast, that you should get associated with one community. Get yourself bounded with that, commit something, and see if you are committing something, you are able to deliver the value. Keep on trying, take more ownerships, responsibility in that club, keep yourself accountable, show the results, and I think you'll see a far better person than what you are seeing today in few days.
Yes. So as you mentioned that you became the president of the club.
Yeah.
So to reach that position, there's always a lot of memories associated with.
Yeah.
So apart from academics, apart from management of the club, what were your favorite memories during the process of getting to like the 4th year?
Yeah. So I think apart from club management, so in general in a club, right, what do? You have a group of folks, maybe in a same class, you have seniors, you sit together and plan for activities, and majority of activities like your events and club services. Club services is your like day-to-day activity. You try to pick up small topic and teach people that topic and make sure that you influence the people, right? And you have to create more and more audience to your club, right? That was very important for us. By the way, I think everyone should try to do that in today's world. Having someone listening to you is very important.
Yes.
Right? So that was something we were trying there. How I can improve my audience? How can I improve number of folks joining my club service, right? And we could start. We used to talk to folks who are not coming. We used to also suggest individual club members that, hey, why don't you go back and ask your fellow friends to join the club services and all, to influence other folks, right? And then in event, though, it's like a crazy event, right? And you will prepare for a week, you are bunking classes, right? Regardless of that, you are still making up and waking up like maybe a 4 a.m. traveling outside by ST bus to other college, then going back to other college and explaining that, hey, we are having this event, we're gonna teach XYZ like Android, iOS, whatever is that, and asking them money. Now imagine you are going to a student who are hardly having 200-300 and you are going back and asking them to join you in a Walchand college and also asking them to pay. Right? And that making sure that they are convinced. And we were the club, we had I think 150 200 participant paid joining our club and workshops, and we used to take that workshops. Now imagine you are like you're having entire mini CCF mall, mini CCF hall, which is having either 200 capacity, and then the entire capacity is full, and on a projector, on camera with mobile camera, obviously you are teaching that entire subject. It was, to start with, it was a horrible experience, although, right, because you have never done that, like teaching to a 150 student, that too like you are doing practical activities, was difficult job. So we used to rehearse a lot. Like so the habit of rehearsals, it would come out, right? Then we used to bifurcate ourselves. They are the marketing team. I think wording was slightly different back then, I don't remember exactly. You have marketing team who would go out, collect the audience and get them here. Second is the actual members who are going to deliver the sessions, right? So even if you have to deliver 1 hour session, you'll have to prepare at least like 10-15 hours for that. Practice at least 4-5 times. Ensure that your voice is reachable if you don't have mic facility and all of this. So from that onwards, having with the very limited infrastructure, you are like exploring, and imagine in the process of that, right, what you have learned. You have learned to how do I make money. Though the agenda was to not make money, but you are convincing someone and getting them here and asking them for a prize, right? So that was a skill. Then going out in altogether new audience in a different college, seeking a permission of their principals, then going into a classroom and explaining the idea behind this, all of this, and getting this audience here, right? It needs a lot of coordination from entire like 20-30 people who are working on that. So I think you are like running at least 15 to 16 hours a day for at least for a continuous 10 days, running behind everyone, and there would be a couple of folks who are like overburdened with lot of work, and I was one of them, right? I was like running here and there. I was like pissed off. 3-4 days you're not sleeping well, and you still have pressure of tomorrow delivering the lecture, all of this, right, and ensuring that it goes smooth. And you're a lot worried about a lot of factors, like maybe your electricity is going down, your mics are not working, projector is not working, a lot of factors would come, right? So you're always stressed out of that. So all of this together, I think, has contributed a lot to me, and these were, I think, set up such memories where I could remember, like I was running from mini CCF mall, mini CCF to canteen just to have food, because you have had not food for at least like maybe 10 hours, and you're just running back from canteen to again mini CCF so that you can deliver the next set of things or do certain actions. So like here and there it was a lot of rush. So those are a lot of memories around that, I would suggest, in a club at least specifically.
Yes, of course. Sir, in college, basically college gives you an experience of the outside world, and as you said, there are difficulties we face and all that. So what are your opinions, like how does college influence your work life after you have left college? Anything you'd like to say on that?
In fact, I think once you actually go out of college, a lot of things are there which I may not understand. Those were influenced by college, to be very honest, right here. Like for example, I am very confidently able to speak to my maybe a head of engineering in entire organization and having one-on-one conversation. Where that confidence is coming from, you see, right? And that too after like maybe a 1 year out of the college, I was having meeting, going and doing a handshake with the global company CEO. Where that confidence would come from, like, or going back to CEO and asking for a selfie, where would that come from? That's absolutely coming from days you have being spent in a college, interacting with a lot of faculties, like for example back then he was a TPO, doing a lot of activities there also, and all of this. So all of this, a lot of improvements knowingly and unknowingly are being contributed by your history. And I believe in majority of my entire journey before I enter into a corporate world, Walchand had a majority of influence, right? So 100% sure that your college interactions to a new folks, college interactions with your colleagues in your classrooms, staff members, maybe other department examination center, you seek for permission, go to a dean, right? All of these interactions make you a better person and confident person. and that's what it goes back. And you go to IT world or whatever corporate world you are going, you are building your own startup, whatever is that you are doing, right? It has influence on that 100%, let's say.
So now, sir, moving on to the next phase of your life, that is transition between college to your post at SDE. What was the transition like? What was the steps that you took to go from being a student to an SDA at Swiggy?
Got it. I'll try to cover like maybe a slightly step by step. The first step, I think, because back then my primary focus was to get into a good company after getting out of the college, right? So I think primary focus was to get yourself prepared. So when I was in third year, I think towards the last, I think April, May, like you have holidays. So I was here in college and primarily focused on preparation of companies, listing out which company possibly I can target. And back then, ThoughtWorks was the company who came here as a day one, day zero company, we used to call it. I'm sure you are calling the same. So we prepared a lot. I think we had a group of 5-6 people who were sitting day in and day out in a CCF lab, holding a key yourself. I was one of the few people who would come at like 7-8 a.m. morning because college was not running, it was all holiday. And the last person or one of the last person who would go out of the mini CCF lab, and we were all sitting in the lab. We had dedicated space. I think we were 4 or 5 people who were sitting in a lab and doing preparation for that, right? Like went on for like at least 1.5 months to 2 months, very hectic preparation. You are just try to spend at least 12-14 hours on dedicated on preparation and try to get into a company, because that was the main agenda, right? To earn your first bucks getting out of the college. So while I was going, before I even jumped into the fourth year, I got an opportunity in ThoughtWorks. So on a day zero itself, I got an offer from ThoughtWorks. I was super happy. I think that day was, for me, it was the best day, I would say, to get, like, this was the first time officially you started believing that you can earn money also, right? Otherwise, you're unofficially just chilling out here and there, making fun of other people and just doing random shit. Otherwise, that day you realize that now you have to become slightly responsible, right? You'll have to get into corporate. I was equally happy. Then I think that other entire semester I was like chilling out. I was not allowed to appear to any other company because that was to be called as a dream company to be in. So you're not allowed to get into any other company, not even to appear for. So I was working with Daigude sir, doing placement TPO activities. I was one of the coordinator then. So I was just chilling out there, helping Daigude sir, coordinating recruitment teams and all of this, entire of 6 months. And then ThoughtWorks offered me to join as an intern in Pune. So we traveled to Pune. From there, I think we got an assignment to project, a lot of things. But being an intern, no one is there to judge you, what you are doing, no accountability or no major accountability, I would say. So you are free to learn anything, right? Use your time. And I had I would say we had a lot of fun. Like we were 5 or 6 people getting into a ThoughtWorks. All of us got an internship opportunity. Back then they were offering stipend of I think 20K. That was huge for us. 20K, and you don't have any plan to spend that, so you're just doing chilling and partying, spending. And it was like every other week I'll come from Pune to Walchin just to spend weekend here because my friends were here. A lot of people were there also in Pune, but I was like quite always feeling like I should go back to college always. So every at least alternate weekend I would come back to college, more than what I would go back to my hometown. I would come to college, spend time here, and then again Monday morning I'll travel, or Sunday night I'll travel back to Pune, right? That was the world, I would say. So I think what helped me to get into a company specifically, I would say, is that couple of months of preparation, and then seeking and always focusing on fundamentals while in a college days, focusing on how to all of these, why things are happening. Likewise, that curiosity actually helped me get into a company, and then from there onwards it started as a corporate career. Then after ThoughtWorks, I spent 4.5 years, learned a lot, traveled outside of India also for a few of the assignments. Didn't enjoy a lot there, so I decided to come back right within 15 days. Then spend time here. in Pune, traveled back and forth to Bangalore for a couple of other assignments because ThoughtWorks is a consulting firm, right? So basis on client requirement, you'll have to travel back and forth, learn a lot. So there I think as soon as your client changes, your complete tech stack changes. There's no control over what tech stack you are supposed to work upon, right? So that I think made me kind of my in scope has increased slightly, right? Because you'll get to work on multiple tech stacks. So technically, I became kind of there's a term I forgot, right? So you are kind of you know too many things, but you're not expert in none of them. So that horizontally I was covered, vertically I was not in depth. So in a 4 years, I decided that hey, I'm being like at a very high level knowing a lot of things, but I am lagging in a depth. So I decided to move to a product based company. So then I moved to Dhruva Software Solutions, Dhruva Data Solutions. I think Dhruva is coming in a college as well. They hire a lot, I think. And by the way, Dhruva has good influence from Walchand College. A lot of people are there from Walchand, and they have good reputation as well. I would suggest I've seen that. There we worked in a lot of data world backup and all of this, right? And then after 2.5 years, I was like not quite enjoying the time, so I decided to seek like a B2C company, right? So Dhruva is a B2B company, right? In ThoughtWorks, you are doing consulting work. So I wanted to try out few different things, right? So did consulting, then went to Dhruva, did like a B2B kind of product solutioning, saw a scale. Then decided that like I should try B2C company. Like we understand B2C, right? Like business to consumer directly. That's how I landed in Swiggy. I landed as SDE3 Swiggy. A lot of learning, like you get to work with millions of customers directly, integrating how you manage a large scale of infra, what decisions you make, how do you deploy, ensure that things are not breaking on a production, right? So it's altogether different world. I would even in fact suggest that everyone in IT should try B2C companies at least once. If you are specifically again focused on being a engineering driven person, right? Then I think in a Swiggy also spent couple of years and now decided that I'll try out. I was like kind of done with the coding, right? Then I decided that I should try something else. So everything I wanted to switch and try out things, right? So I decided to go into managerial role and started doing engineering manager role right now. And I own trust and safety department in from engineering purview in a Swiggy, right? So a lot of things to learn there also. That's how I started. But if we want to go back, I'll just slightly go back again, like going out of college and how my curiosity and holding back to what you love for, right? So in 2016, I was doing a job in ThoughtWorks while parallelly, because if you go back, I explained earlier, right? I love teaching, going outside of the college, teaching to other student or in a club, taking club services or taking sessions in workshop. That kind of had like some kicks that I want to do teaching, right? So all of sudden one fine day, me and my friend Vittal decided that we should try out something, and both of us love teaching. So we opened a coaching class in Waguli. So Waguli was a place where nearby there were multiple colleges are there, JSPM and all of this. So we decided that hey, let's be a lot of struggle, but while I'll do a job, I'll parallelly start teaching, because teaching is okay job, right? No one will question from commercial angle, or no one will say that you are doing job and still teaching, right? So, and it was serving our purpose. Our purpose was to explore something and kind of right. So we started that on a day zero. We decided set up a lab, right? Lecture room, all of this infra we did set up, rented out a place. And one fine day we went to a college, nearby college, and we shared a story. And that's where I'm coming to, right? How your skill of selling something or telling the stories becomes very important, right? And one of staff members, we somehow convinced that hey, we are in a 2017 back then. I was just passed out in 2016. So students there in JSPM, I was just 1 year senior to them, right? And I was going there and I was in front of entire classroom of like 90 students. I was saying that hey, I am your senior of 1 year and I'm doing job in so and so company. And because my journey has taught me something, how I prepared myself, how I got into a job wherever I am working, how I'm earning X amount of money back then. And I want to share those with all of you guys, right? Are you ready to join me And that's how I did a pitch to students. And on the same day, around 33 or 34 people showed up in a classroom, and they said that we want to learn from you, right? And they were ready to pay, and we started charging them 5,000 rupees in an entire semester. Like, we were teaching them for 4.5 months, and charged them 5,000. We made at least 8-9 lakhs back then from a college, right? But then that rotation started. Now, if you see the struggle, right, and I think that's what I also want to emphasize on. Life is struggle, right? You'll have to keep trying. Don't worry about a lot of things, right? So I was doing my 10 to 5 or 6 job, right? I was in Shastrinagar in Pune, and the class was located in Wagoli. It is around, at least I would say, 15-kilometer journey in a heavy traffic. Every day I would finish my job, drive for an hour, go to Wagoli, take 1 hour lecture, 1 hour practical, 2 hours, and then have dinner, and then come back home, and then again next day starts. And then you have to prepare for next day while you are teaching, or sometime in office you have some assignment pending, you have to do that and all of this, right? And preparation. So because we didn't had any plan for teaching, so every day what we want to teach next day, we have to prepare. So that preparation, there was a lot of struggle, I would say, like 2-3 years. That was hell, actually, right? You're struggling a lot, but at the same time you are having fun, because you are doing something which you love to, right? And you're not compromising on a lot of things, right? Otherwise, we were not in risk also. We were doing a job, earning pretty decent, and coaching was something we were just having for fun. No commercial, primarily no commercial angle was involved back then. And so it also taught me, like, how up to what extent you can go, or up to what extent you can take to yourself. And I wouldn't call it a lot of struggle to me. A lot of people are there out who are doing a lot more than me, I would say. But back then for me also it was struggle. So I think that energy, making sure that you are always doing something or other while you are doing this job and all, that continued. Absolutely continued. Then back then I started taking assignment, doing some project, helping some random guys, right? And ensuring that you're busy always there, right? And that taught me a lot. I think if one of or many of audience might be interested doing something like that sort, right, I would suggest go ahead, give it a try, and don't question on your ability, what you can do. You can absolutely do 14-15 hours of your day of work, still sleep, still manage, and you will have fun a lot more.
So the journey from being an intern to a coder and then again going to teaching, there is of course some strategies that you would have used to cope up with like the stress or whatever your strategy, something to, like as you said, you have to prepare for the next step. So are there any strategies or technology that you used that you can tell us?
So back then, I think if I just compare with today's world versus back then, right, it's a 10-year span, not a big, but I think world has moved so fast. Right, I'm not telling stories of 100 years back. It's just 10 years back, but a lot has changed, right? At least in last 3-4 years, though, it has changed a lot, right? So if you think about strategy, what I was doing, I was just trying to sell the stories of how I landed into this specific job. That was the only strategy. Now, if I go back, I was just saying that, hey, how did I started a preparation? So I was like, hey, I did, I think, CPP first. Then I did data structure and algorithms, right? That was, and how did I do that data structure algorithm? Maybe I went back to Gigs for Gigs, did that maybe 100-200 problems on a Gigs for Gigs, practice a lot. How did I practice? Then I did Java. How did I practice Java? All of this. So the strategy was only to clone what you have done. There was no other strategy at all, to be very honest, right? And I think we are not mature enough to build a strategy as well, to be very honest with you right now, right? Like if I go back now and want to go back, I might have better strategy than what I had earlier. So no specific strategy, but I was trying to, because that's what I sold to people who are joining, that hey, I am earning this much and you people are struggling to get a job, and I can maybe help you get at least better. I was not committing anything. So I was just trying to ensure that whatever I have learned, however I have learned, I was just trying to explain them in a maybe a better world, a better way, because I was good at speaking, I was good at convincing and explaining the concept, critical concept of technologies. But the things which I loved is going back to our fundamentals. Like, for example, if one asks me, hey, how things work, so I'll always go back in how. Right, so even if I'm learning, let's say, one of the concept in operating system, I'll try to dig into that, learn how things works, and make a bigger picture in my mind. Like for example, today also I'm not sure, you might experience this when you go back, or anyone who is working on a detailed project might make it, or may able to visualize, right? Let's say I get a phone call from one of my colleagues, let's say right now, right, and he explain this issue. I am able to make sense out of things, what might be possibly an issue. Why? Because I know how things are working, right? So I'm not only focused on what I am supposed to do, rather I am focused on how am I supposed to do and how existing things are working fine, right? Overall in a computer world and programming world, making sure that you know how behind everything is very very important. And I am 100% sure that at least next 4 5 years that will become relevant. Your execution is still sorted with AI and all of this, but making sure that how things are working still becomes relevant. So that angle of curiosity, that's what I would call it, like how things are working, that's a curiosity aspect, right? So I had a curiosity in mind, always figuring out things, right? And that was the only strategy I think so I had earlier, if I'm able to articulate it.
So basically, along with curiosity, your experience is what mattered to the students, or what you were selling to the students.
Correct. It was just explaining a journey. You're just telling what you did, nothing else.
Okay, so now as you have worked in corporate, what differences do you see in building projects when you are in college and when you are doing in corporate? So what are the differences in projects?
A lot more, I would say. I mean, we are far behind than what world is in a college, right? I'm not expecting how to have super complex project in college, obviously, because your time is, you're focusing on a lot of other things as well. But in any project you pick up, for example, right? Even for example, take a simple example of Walchand College. Walchand College has its own website. We have computer science department. Still college doesn't allow your students to build a website. Why? Very important, right? Because college students are excellent in skills on building some things, but they may not have experience on maintaining a production ready things, right? So that building something versus making sure that it's a production ready has like at least 50-60% of the gap. You have a lot of more things than just coding. However, in a college, when you're building project, our primary focus is to get it working ready on my laptop. Right now, imagine you have built a website which is working on laptop. You are just hitting one person using that website. Imagine that goes on a production and millions of people start accessing that website. A lot of things can go wrong, right? So difference is how you think about scale, how you think about your design while you are building any of the software product for that matter. Your design thinking becomes very important. And then how you are planning to roll it out to a market, how your consumers are going to use the product. So all of this is backward of the consumer, right? Your consumer is going to use this way, so you are building in this way. Here we are building first and in a college project because you're not thinking a lot about consumer, right? However, in a corporate world, they are spending millions of dollars at least to build applications. You'll have to think from a consumer backward. So customer backward thinking is something which is there in a production, and that drives a lot of things. However, in a college project, that doesn't happen, and I'm not expecting, I think, even student to do that independently. It's not super easy job. But I think people have started improved a lot. I think recently, yesterday I was in this hackathon, right? Not a hackathon, I would say this ideathon. People were presenting like a production ready Vercel apps directly. So you're way beyond, I think, what we used to be, right? You're building production ready Vercel apps and deploying. At least you're having that project accessible to a world via something and are usable enough. I think there's one of the project which is almost production ready. I could see all from sense of usability aspect, readiness, deployment, also on production ready.
Yes.
So way beyond, I think.
Okay. Yeah. So also we've heard that you have a proof of concept that you're working on. Would you like to share something about it to us?
Something I think which I was quite fascinated about and I was like thinking from few years. So a lot of time I was reading about this also, and I keep sharing stories on my LinkedIn, even Twitter and all of this, right? We as a consumer, when we go into a market, you are buying something, you are not sure what you are buying, you are being fooled, right? So you might be ordering something on Amazon and you might receive a fake product or degraded quality product, and in any industry for that matter. And there are a lot of statistics which says that medicine industry has a lot more fake medicine coming into a market, at least 30%. One of the survey in, I think 2020 had said that 30% of medicine in market are fake. Why? Because medical industry gives you a liberty to earn a lot of more profit, right? You are like selling a strip of pocket which takes this much size, and you can charge like $500 for that. So imagine margins in that. You are like on 1,000% margin in that, right? So people are building fake products, selling into market. Recently, you see a Colgate scam, like fake Colgate coming into a market, like you are using that for brushing your teeth and all of this, right? So I like started thinking, how can I stop it or help something like that? So I was building kind of a POC where, and recently you got a lot of boom for QR codes, right? So I decided to prepare like a proof of concept POC where I'll prepare a engine like a computer kind of a program SaaS platform where I'll help a lot of these companies track individual of their product using QR codes. And every company would have their QR codes sticked on a product which they are selling into a market. And as a consumer, if I'm paying like a 500 rupees to that individual product, I have right to know that this is a genuine product, right? Otherwise, I am buying a product which is labeled as, let's say, a Colgate, but it is not really built by a Colgate company, right? Then I am being fooled, right? So I decided that can I do something, and then QR code based product is something I started thinking. What it does is specifically Colgate company will stick QR codes on individual product consumers, and they'll build consumer awareness via different campaigns modes and say that, hey, you as a consumer, when you are buying the product, please ensure that you are scanning the QR code, ensure that you are getting authentic product, right? And whenever consumer scans the product, what happens is then you as a consumer get to know what that product is, where it is coming from, right? When it was prepared, what is expiry date, what are the things I need to be very careful while using the product, any age gap, any flags, so and so forth, right? That's a building confidence to a consumer that you are using a genuine product. And as a product, whatever I am selling, you need to give that confidence to a consumer, right? So what you have done is that QR code will give you a confidence, and that QR code is such a that it is a tamper proof. You cannot dedupe that QR code, you cannot keep a copy of that QR code, and you cannot own the QR code without having a Colgate's permission, right? So that QR code becomes like a trust stamp, I would say. You are like stamping that with the QR code, and stamp is not just a static but a dynamic where consumer can interact with it, right? And any fake products coming into a market with the QR code, that will be flagged under system. So that's something I'm currently working upon. Most likely I'll prepare some document, share it across, publish as a paper or something, but that's all in my personal scope, however I want to continue. Other aspect I think to this I also want to get into is like a D2C, right? A lot of like a e-commerce brand, if you see, they are struggling with having customers on their own website. Like for example, you have a skincare brand, imagine, right? And you are selling on e-commerce platform like Flipkart, Amazon, Myntra, all of this, and you have your own website, but you are struggling to get traffic on your website. However, you have good consumer space on Myntra and Flipkart and Amazon, so and so forth, right? But you are spending a lot on those platforms, like 20-25% commissions and on all of this, right? So I want to invest something more about how can I empower these brands to have their own consumers who are directly interacting and buying from them without spending hefty amount of commissions. So I'll invest some more time on those aspects also. So that's what right now I'm working upon. Let's see where it goes, and if I'm able to get to that, most likely it will come out into a market.
So like ideas like these come up to students as well.
Yeah.
So how important do you think events like WIC hosted by MLSC are important in colleges level? Like what do you think about those events?
Yeah, absolutely. I think back then, to be very honest, ideas are not much important, to be very honest. Like having an idea is not important, right? I had an idea of in fact 2017 is where Big Basket launched, right? I had an idea of kiranabharana.com. I had a domain bought for that. I built an HTML pages and all of that, but I didn't execute. Now you need a vision for that. Now I won't say that like Big Basket copied my idea. That's useless things, right? So your idea has no value unless you execute it, right? So having this idea is very important, which promotes your idea, but we should add and create an ecosystem in college which will push student to create prototypes, go into a market, try selling that idea. I think that's entire intent of your one of the event where we did an ideathon. But that was not just an idea presentation, that was like a prototype presentation, which is something very important, I would say. Let's say you're not just having an idea, you know how to implement it, and you are doing at least prototype stage of that. Some of folks, I think, had an idea, implemented that end to end, made it production ready, and that is very important, I would say. So don't focus on idea, get some idea, and I'm sure you'll fail on a lot of ideas. And I'll tell you that I have 10-12 domain into my account. None of them worked up on, gave it a try to multiple POCs and all of this. So have an idea, absolutely. Decide on idea, but work on implementation and execution, and do a fail fast. Like you might feel that, hey, I have tried that, invested a couple of months, but you have that liberty, you have more time, you invest while you are in college, you can build some product out of college, go out and try selling that product in the market, right? So execution and selling is very, very important aspect. Building product is not important right now. And having an idea is also not important, right? So I think great to have an idea, super great, very important to have an execution, and then like super important to ability to sell that product and making sure that your product is being purchased and paid for.
Yeah. Okay, sir. So now moving on to the hot topic of AI, you said that in the last 10 years, a lot has changed.
Yeah.
So how do you think it will affect software engineers in the coming years? How will AI affect, how the AI will affect the jobs and job market of software engineers in the coming years?
Yeah. I think very interesting, and this question is being asked in multiple topics, multiple stages. Multiple people are trying to answer that question in a very blunt way, but I'll try to give my purview of that, and I'm sure my entire of this view is personal. It might go 100% wrong because AI has become super unpredictable, and I'll tell you that even if I'm saying something, you may able to prove it wrong in just a week time, right? So I'll go back and explain you very, very fundamental how I think about it, and it will evolve around that, and I'll try to simulate, right? So back then, if you go in 1850 or so, you had a lot of bull rides economy, right? Everywhere commute was happening via either horse rides or bull rides, right? You have bull carts and hall carts. So that was entire economy around that. So you'll have all industry where they are building bull carts and horse carts. You have industry who is maintaining bulls, maintaining horse. There is an entire ecosystem of economy which is maintaining roads, making sure they are clean enough, right? That entire industry. There is an industry which is maintaining and making sure repairing of that happens. And all of a sudden in a 90s world, this automobile sector came in. Now everyone was like scared, like what will happen to my economy? Now everyone will lose the job, all of this, and they. In fact, they lost, right? No one, now you see bull rides and horse carts, right? But a new economy got created. So there is always some shuffle or a period where everyone is distressed, but everything will create something new, I'd suggest. And that's what I am trying to correlate with. However, the intensity of the transition back then versus the intensity of transition today in the AI world is completely different. It is way more intense. It may happen that tomorrow AI is able to do lot of things, right? I think agentic AI is coming already in time. I am myself using agents. You don't need like a pure software developer to build your products, right? So building products has become easy. Execution has become easy. Now selling is taking higher this, right? I think things will become much more valuable. For example, art will become much more valuable, as I feel. Like, this is personal opinion. Things which has human angle. For example, you are able to play guitar, you are artist, you are able to blog, you are able to write, express yourself. That becomes much more valuable because that's something machine may not able to do way better, right? So if you are having human angle to that, human angle will become more and more important because that is become scarce. So it's again demand supply, right? So you're doing a lot with the AI. Like, for example, amount of code being written on a GitHub by AI is now has gone, I think, 64 to 80%, around that range. I think GitHub is claiming that AI is writing that much amount of code. The amount of code being shipped quantity has increased a lot. That means a lot more products are coming into a market. So earlier, if you have idea, implementing that would take months. Now it will take a week. So products are getting shipped very faster, right? I think it's just that you'll have to fight a day in day out, because your competitor will become super fast, right? And they will also come into a market. So overall job market will get impacted, but what I believe is AI will create more, again open up more doors on intelligence, how you can use build a agentic application, for example .com domains, right? Now you are able to buy online. So you may say that, hey, offline economy kind of got impacted, but it has created more jobs, because you need to have a manpower to create that enablement into a market. So I believe similar things might happen on AI, possibly, maybe in a different scale altogether. But AI will create new jobs as well. It will sometime you'll feel turmoil, but eventually it will create more jobs, and eventually economy will stabilize. Is what I believe. I'm not economist, just quote unquote. This is my personal opinion again. But yeah, you'll have to cope up with the time, new skills. Don't focus on any specific technology. Be a builder. Like I was like speaking in a company, and one of the guys said that you are no more a software engineer. You are a builder. You should able to articulate and command to agent as well, to AI, speak to AI, all of this, right? So yeah, this is how I think it might span out.
So basically, there is a transition from fearing a technology into adapting it to your daily work and inculcating that, so your productivity is boosted. That is basically
absolutely. And I'll tell you example also to that, right? So I was mentoring few of the folks, and I don't know name, and they were saying that, hey, if I use AI, then I'm not learning enough, and I'm feeling that AI is getting out of control. This is like saying running out of the reality, right? So don't run away from reality. Accept the reality as it is, right? AI is gonna be there. It is gonna stay there, right, for a longer. How can you make a best use of the AI and still stand out is very important. Yes. So you have to adapt and not fear out from that.
Okay. So moving on to the next question, how important do you think is teamwork and collaboration in day-to-day life?
Yeah, I think this is definitely, I don't have a scale to answer this question absolutely, but it was important, it will remain important, to be very honest. A lot of companies who started remote, they are now coming back to in office. Why? Because people are not interacting a lot with each other. They are only focusing on doing work and just finishing up the work. Companies are calling all of the employees in office so that they can sit together, collaborate more. So interpersonal skill, like I think interpersonal skill, speaking with other person is relevant. It has become more relevant, right? So having that skill to interact with other person, get the idea being exchanged, is very, very important, and I believe it becomes more and more important. It has been important only. So how much? Absolutely 100% important, and it will remain important. So I think as a student also, you guys, your classmates and all, you'll try to have that interpersonal skill. Yes. Don't be isolated. Have a human angle to individual of these things, right? So you be a part of entire community as a human. Don't be like here to just prepare, give exams and all of this. So build that, I think, skill, which is very, very important.
Yes. Sir, so many students in college have a dilemma of choosing between DSA development and then learning new skills. What do you say is the perfect balance between the three, or like what would be your approach for the students coming who are doing engineering right now?
You mean whether I should study data structural algorithm versus creating new project versus learning new technology? You mean to say that, like three of the accept? Okay, so I think I'll try to slightly cover from a demand angle side of this, right? And I've been taking interviews and all of this, right? So data structure and algorithms has been a hot topic in a lot of companies, and it is still there as a hot topic. Intensity has increased a lot, right? So whenever you want to get into a good company, you need to have a data structure and algorithm, because that's what being adopted by every company. And I won't say it's wrong. It's important because it tests ability of your analytical thinking, critical thinking also, how you are able to make decisions which are very, very critical and minute. That is being improved by data structure and algorithm, and that's why companies are not full to emphasize that on this much, right? So this is still relevant. However, I think DS and Algo will get you into a good job, right? But the other skills which you are telling about are also equally important. You may not want to like focus a lot right now on that, right? Because eventually you land into some job somewhere and you will learn all of this. Currently, if your target is only or your goal is to get into a good job, focus on one programming language, right? Clear fundamentals, that's very important, because in interview now paradigm has shifted. Earlier they were only focusing on data structure and algorithm, you would easily get the job because demand was super high. Back then I remember a lot of these companies like Infosys, Accenture used to come into college. They would call like 4 or 5 people together and say that, ask their names and say that, hey, you are now selected, because demand was super high, right? Now if you see, anytime demand supply imbalance happens, stress either gets exchanged on other side. Like for example, demand is higher, right, and supply is lower, right? Then what will happen is supplier has advantage, right? So it will keep on happening, and that's the exactly same. Right now supply is super high and demand is low. So what will happen is demand side will try to raise a bar, and they have already raised a bar. Why? If I have a pool of 10 people, I'll try to choose best out of that. Now you need to be a best, right? So intensity of this DS algo complexity has increased, ask has increased eventually, so you have to focus on that. However, even these days company have started asking for low level design, high level designs up to certain extent, right? They are trying to ask your projects, dig into that individual. So have that balance, focus on DS algo as well, but have that balance and make sure your fundamentals are clear, to be very honest, right? I have to have fundamentals clear why and how again, right? So try to balance out of that. Don't focus on one and completely ignore other. Not that way. DS algo takes highest precedence, obviously, and practice by hand without using AI for now, at least until the hiring strategy changes completely. Because as of now, even if you ask me, right, if you ask me to code like maybe a complex problem myself, I may not able to do that. Why? Because I have now, since AI has came in, I have a habit of having AI as a agent to me who is helping me code. I cannot now type and code. But however, if I go and try to interview, that's not acceptable. At least as of now. I think maybe in a month or so, companies might change their strategy and they may allow saying that, hey, even if you are candidate given an interview, you are okay using AI. They might come and say eventually. But as of now, that's not the case, excluding couple of companies which I have heard about. But I think you'll have to practice by hand, fully raw, practice this DS algo problem statements and all of this, and still focus on fundamentals, because DS algo will cover you one round. However, the other rounds they have to still cover up.
So basically standing out is important, but then
Yes.
you knowing your basics is also very important.
Absolutely.
Okay, so throughout your journey, what were some of the habits that you inculcated in your day-to-day life that helped you stay consistent?
Yeah, I think I think you mentioned very specifically consistency was my habit. Like even I currently try to do, if I'm switching the job, trying to build something like a building prototypes, or maybe doing like this coaching business and whatever I have done. You may not be super talented on doing maybe a lot of things in a day, but if you can do consistently half of it for 10 days, you are already standard out, right? So it's not important how intelligent you are and how optimized you are, which you can do in a day. However, how long you can do and how long you can sustain, that's very important. So if you are able to consistently spend 3 months and do something, then you are already a way more than what other people will do. So being consistent is very important, is a habit also, I would say, and I try to inculcate that habit. And being curious, right? So that's very important. I don't know I am able to explain being curious as a term very well, but being curious means whatever happening around you, be curious on that. Like, and that habit will make sure that sometime you might end up focusing or being curious for just random shit which is not important, but it's your habit, right? But you will end up focusing a lot on things which are also important, and that will add an advantage to your overall portfolio, right? So being curious on understanding again important details, asking right questions, and making sure that you are not stopping unless you are 100% clear. So your habit is you want always to have a clarity. How clarity comes is getting questions answered, right? And that comes from your curiosity. How to be curious? So your goal is to have a clarity of mind, 100% clear on things you are working and things you are being surrounded with. So these couple of habits, I would say, takes highest precedence: consistency and curiosity.
Curious about your surrounding leads to one thing to another, and then that branches out, and then you can
Exactly.
figure out, you get new ideas and all that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I would say, I think curiosity, in fact, even if I go to out and I was like maybe traveling with the cab driver, I was curious about like, yeah, how much he's earning. And most of the people are curious about it, I would say, but that is just a habit. You will randomly speak and try to understand. You have random questions. Some of them are very useless, not important, but because you are curious, you try to ask. So you can yourself also analyze how much curious you are about, but ensure that you are curious enough to important topics at least.
So, sir, apart from the professional aspect of your life, what has college given to you that you still cherish?
Yeah, I think it's very, very important question. Close to my heart. College has given me law of my life, right? So while I was in college, I met Shivali, who is my wife right now. We kind of liked each other. Then we spent a lot of time together here in college. Even after going out, we were in Pune, spending time together. We met each other, family and all, and eventually got married. And that was, I think, one of the important contribution college has made in my life, which is not measurable beyond numbers and beyond what you can even talk about it. So very, very important things, I would say. I'm not sure if important is the right word, but I think something part of my life close to my heart, or closest to my heart, I would say. So I'm still thankful to college, I would say. Thankful to this culture environment which has shaped up both of us together, and she's equally thankful to college.
That's really sweet to hear, sir.
Yeah.
So now moving on to the last section, that is the rapid fire section of the round. Basically, I'll be asking you questions, and you'll be given. You can give answers in 1 or 2 sentences.
1 or 2 sentences.
1 or 2 words, whatever.
Words as well is okay.
Yeah, that's
but
fine.
you want me
Short
to keep
answers.
short? Okay,
Yeah.
fine.
As fast as possible.
Fair enough.
Okay. The first question goes like this: one programming language you enjoy working with.
Go.
That's a good one. A tech resource or platform that helped you the most.
Gigs for gigs.
One habit that makes you a better developer.
Being curious.
A technology trend you're most excited about right now.
Artificial intelligence, but before AI coming into a world, Docker.
Okay. And the last one: if you weren't a software engineer, what career might you have chosen?
I don't know really, but I might have been a farmer.
Okay, that's really good. That's the end of the rapid fire section. And before wrapping up, what would you like to tell our audience? Cool. Yeah. Last words. I think I'm assuming this audience is your college students and maybe a professional out of the college. From my experience, I would suggest enjoy your time, have a fun. That's very, very important. Career will happen. Give equal importance. Be curious. Learn a lot of things. Interact with a lot of people. Very, very important. Make a lot of good friends. Attend a lot of events. Have a fun. Life should be full of fun. You should have memories which you can joke about yourself in 2 years down the line, at least. So I think that's what the message I have for students. Focus on your academics, focus outside of academics, which is entrepreneurship, skill, all of the other aspect of the outside of the books and all the things, right? Participate in all other activities, and again, have fun. Very important. Right? Cool. That was really nice, sir. It was really great interacting with you. Great insights. Hope our audiences have gotten really nice information from you. And that's all. Thank you, sir. Equally grateful. Thank you so much for calling me on this podcast, and I wish you also best of luck for this podcast series. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure, sir. Yeah. Cool. Thanks, guys. That was all from Mr. Mahadev Vyavahare. I hope you have taken insights that will help you in your tech journey. Thank you for watching, and please be tuned for the next episode of the Transcend Bus Show.